Good morning. Saturday in the workshop. Just thought we might have a little walk around and have a bit of a look at sort of what went on last week. I've been doing a little bit of videoing sort of during the week, but it has been a little bit harder the last couple of weeks. Been really under the gun, doing some race car work again, which, you know, there's pretty much full on concentration. You know, a lot of things to consider in those, so no real camera going on then. It's a lot easier with the street car hot rod sort of stuff to you know, get a bit of camera footage and things like that going on. But we'll have a wander around and we'll check it out. So we got Matt and Tracy's 48 Chevy pickup back in. We did some work on this one last year. I'll put some pictures up. I did manage to snap a couple of pictures while we were working during the week on this one. So what did we get up to? We got some bucket seats out of a Mercedes, some fairly electrified seats, which, you know, they're really comfortable, beautiful seats. For engineering purposes, because we've put this one on a Holden chassis, we need to run some headrests in front of the glass to meet ADR requirements for the year of the chassis. Whether or not they get cut down later on when the seats get retrimmed, I'd say there's a fair chance on that one. Done quite a bit of structural work in the floor. A bit hard to see because made up some carpeted panels, but there's some fabricated box sections under there that bolt the seats down. We've done some anchor points for seat belts. A bit of rust here and there we repaired while we were going along. Welded up the rest of the holes in the firewall. That's just some brushed on epoxy there, so we don't get any surface rust in between metalwork. And we're basically ready to put the new collapsible steering column, power brakes and all that into the firewall next week. Scooter can cruise on with that. And then once that's done, we'll blow it all apart again. We're just going to black Raptor coat the inside and the firewall, and then we'll set it back on the chassis, which is just chilling back here. We put this one together last year. That's all nicely powder coated. Got a small block Chevy, turbo 400. Really the only thing interesting about this is the left-hand drive Mustang rack, because this is in fact a left-hand drive cab. So that's about all with that one. Then the coupe made it back onto its chassis for the last time. So that's just in the tent having some filler and sanding work. The dash is getting changed to the same colour as the body. And the cowl and the firewall is being prepped. And that is being repainted after doing the vent delete that the owner wanted gone on the front of the cowl there. So yeah, that's just chilling out in here while Brendo does the work on that one. Last weekend I got a little bit done on the Chevy Truck. It's sort of still Brendan's big job at the moment, blocking and sanding and then repriming and things like that. I did come to a realisation though, as I was working on it, because of the one-piece glass in the Chevy Truck, I hadn't actually considered that there would be a significant issue with the inner door handles and locking arrangements, being that there used to be quarter windows in these trucks, so the door handle mechanism could be in front of the window, whereas now that we've gone to one-piece glass, the mechanisms have to be obviously lower than the height of the glass needs to come down in the window channel. So I'll just flick the camera around and show you sort of how I was getting around that. So the door handle had to be significantly low on the truck, which it is a bit but what can you do? I really do want the one-piece glass. So we had to make these little pieces. I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see it down there in the dark, but basically had to make some mechanisms to flip-flop so that we can run a rod down through the door across to the flip-flop up to this other little piece that I had to make on the door handle to run vertically, and then I'll put some central locking solenoids on the rod, yeah, to make that all work. So a little bit of engineering and a little bit of wizardry to make all that work, but it's happening. I did put the steering back in last weekend just to make it a bit easier to move around. So steering shaft's all in there, collapsible steering shaft, down to a Howe control valve. A few of you guys might recognise those from race cars. The engineer said he was happy with that setup, running a hydraulic ram, because we cannot get a right-hand drive C30 Chevy steering box, and I didn't really feel like reinventing the wheel on this one, changing steering geometry and things like that by adding different power steering boxes. Certainly could have done that in the past with Nissan Patrol power steering boxes on hot rod trucks and things like that, but there really just wasn't the room either, because as you can see, that radiator and the engine gobbles up a fair bit of real estate. Now this is the big one that's been gobbling up a lot of my time in the last week and a half. So we got the crazy 8-into-1 exhaust all finished up, so I'm happy that that's all done. And mounted the heat exchanger and started making the water lines. So that runs really neatly across the back of the radiator there, through the heat exchanger, coming down under the bell housing, under the dry sump plate. We'll do a soft line under the dry sump plate up to the dash 20 fitting on the water pump, and then I've got to make the same kind of deal off the water pump here. We'll do a hard line up the side of the chassis and then a soft line to join that up at the radiator. So I'll just sort of pan around, and man, there's so much work that goes into building these, especially when you do every inch of it here in-house. The only thing that won't be done here is wiring and tuning, but we'll work with Shannon when that comes time to be done. I want to be all over that one. Alright, well that's a little bit of a walk around with sort of what's gone on in the last week or so. I'm going to put the camera down now and get into the Chevy truck and do my usual Saturday to try and bring that along a little bit further. It's nice and quiet in here this morning, no one else around, phones are off, and yeah, time to get into it. So just doing a bit of work on the Chevy truck. I actually bought all new door handles, all new locking mechanisms, crossovers, latches, like the whole deal. But yeah, I made a massive mistake, because I didn't realise how different the Australian built Chev cabs were versus the American cabs. In fact, now that we've actually got another one here in the workshop, yeah, they're pretty much nothing alike. So I've had to do quite a bit of work. I'm just about to go over the bench, and I've got to grind this flat section right down on this shaft here, because the depth in the door is completely different. As you can see, that's bottomed out there already and nowhere near in the door. So I've already done the other side, so I'll start work on this side now. Probably the worst part of all of it was the catches, latches, hinges, just everything on this truck was absolutely, you know, non-functional, rusted out. So I had to spend about 3 to 4 days restoring all those, building up all the catches with weld, linishing them down, reshaping them, because I really, other than completely reinventing the whole setup and changing everything, there was absolutely no bolt-in solution. So the fastest way was, you know, always going to be to restore the original stuff. That's done now, and it's all working and works really well. And I guess, you know, if it's made it from 1948 to 2025, should be good for another 40-50 years, and I'll be well and truly in the dirt then, and it really doesn't matter. So yeah, we'll get into it. Alright, so with some grinding down, that's ready to go all the way in and suit the Australian made door catch. So now we've just got to drill some holes in the door to accept this handle. We've got plenty of length coming through there to put our other piece on that's going to make the inner door handle work. If you're wondering what all that stuff is running down the inside of the door there, that's just a product called KBS Rust Seal. So we basically went to town with that on the inside, and it's moisture cured and is extremely hard setting, and we're just hoping that it gives everything a little bit of a chance to last the best it can, as this one was so rusty, even though everything was sandblasted, and yeah, it was pretty far gone. So we're just doing everything we can, so hopefully that everything stays nice for a long time. It's got this little template made up from the other side, so just mark the door out and get ready to drill that. Get drilling. Go a little bit bigger on that back hole there. It's got that locator that pokes through the door to stop the whole deal twisting. All close, one more. And that's her. Alright, I did actually have to just build that up with the TIG just a little bit and have another file at that. It worked, but it was a little bit loose. I ground a little bit too much off it straight up. So that's all sorted now. Beauty of metal, just put it back. So that mechanism all works now. It's just a little bit too long, so I'll go and prune about 10 mil off of that, and then we'll put our next piece on and move on. See, I should have my glasses on when I was grinding that straight up. Getting old, man. Just got to cut out a little rubber gasket to sit behind the door handle. So just use some thin insertion rubber. Go and grab a couple of punches. That one's a little bit off center. We'll see. So we've got our little rubber gasket now. That'll just pull up a bit nicer on the door and get it bolted in the door, and it should be good to go. Just need to get a little 8mm nut and a decent washer to hold that door handle in. What's happening on your Saturday? What are you working on? You out in the shed? Should be. Most of the people that I know, mates of mine, they'll be doing exactly the same thing today. So good luck with whatever you're working on, and yeah, get it done. This bolt's in a really awesome spot. It doesn't help when you grab the wrong size spanner. The elusive 10mm spanner. It's a real thing. That'll teach me for using metric hardware on a Chevy, I guess. Pulling this driver's side lock out, not really happy with it. It's yeah, had a bit of a go at it the other day, but the springs in it are really weak and the door handle isn't returning nicely. So we'll have to pull that apart again and see if we can do something about it. A little bit of metal there's not ideal either. Yeah, so restoration can be a lot of fun. So the driver's side lock is yeah, basically stuffed, but we're doing what we can with it, so I'll show you. So the hole and the drive that square goes through is basically non-existent, so I'm just building it up with the TIG now, and hopefully we can grind it square enough to make it work again. So we managed to get enough of a square going on inside that mechanism that now we spring back nicely, which we weren't doing before. And there's really not a lot of movement in that mechanism now. So I reckon we might have saved that. Alright, so it's been a fun day. Still working on this door hinge, door latch. I just made a pretty significant error by cutting off a little part that is actually really important. So now I'm fixing that. There's a little linkage there that I didn't think was necessary, but I've had to make up this little piece where I cut it, and now I'm about to TIG weld that back on. So still had a little bit of smoke coming off of that. It was just a little bit of a crack in the housing, so I just welded that up as well while I was going. Got that little arm welded back on there. So I'll just put a nut on the back of that. And then I think we're good to go and give her a bit of a test run. Man, fingers crossed, hey? Well, we're going to call that a win. It's, yeah, everything's back together and functioning. What's that? 2.5 hours of messing around to fit a door handle. But that's how this stuff goes, you know, and there's no rare spares parts available or, you know, or anything for these Australian built, really American vehicles, you know, built in the 40s, because they just used whatever they had or whatever they could get. I'm pretty sure the Bedford that I've still got in South Australia has probably got the same locking mechanisms, and next time we're back there we're absolutely going to wrap those. But anyway, we'll show you that it all functions now. Okay, so door's nice and closed, opens perfectly. Mechanisms all nice and fresh in there. Bit of looby-dooby on that to free it all up. Closes nicely onto the second latch, and works how it should. So I'm just going to unbolt the passenger side inner door handle mechanism, because even though it was only a couple of weeks ago, I've pretty much forgotten the modifications that I did to make that all work. So we'll pull it out. Alright, so got that out of the door now, and it's all starting to come back to me. Had to machine up a couple of little spaces to get welded onto the assembly to set it into the door at the right depth, and take this big rod off, because that's not going to work for us. And yeah, just TIG welded a 6mm bolt in there so that we can attach our own mechanism when we make that. So time to get on the lathe and make some more pieces. So we've got that piece made up for the driver's side door handle. Got the other little flip-flop duver made up. So that's in there. Just bolted the steering column up to stay up finally. Sorry, she's a bit dark in there. But that's going to do it, I reckon, for Saturday. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Going to wrap it up. I'm sure Monday morning we'll be here soon enough. So have a good weekend, whatever you're doing. Please leave a comment down the bottom. That would help us out heaps. Just trying to grow the channel. and that way if we can grow it, we'll do some more updates, and everyone can see what's going on with their projects. Thanks very much. Cheers.